Hello, legal researchers. My name is Jessica Almeida, and I am a librarian at the University of Massachusetts School of Law Library. In today's session, we're going to be strengthening our statutory research skills. This is the third session in our Summer Internship Series. So when you think about statutory research, I want you to take a moment and just think, what are some strategies that you use to find the controlling statute on your issue? So take a minute, think about if you were to go into Westlaw and Lexis, where would you go? What would you do? What would you be looking for? So here are some strategies that I use. Of course, the first one is research a secondary source. If you have watched any of my videos, I'm a big fan of secondary sources. Um, I like to do some research at a secondary source that not only brings me to my primary source, but it also gives me some background on the issue. There's so many different legal issues that it's hard to know about all of them. So I like to kind of get a background, a foundation, um, you know, get some knowledge about that particular issue before jumping into my primary sources. You can also use an index or browse the table of contents of the statutory schema. I love a good index. This is usually what I try when I'm struggling to find a secondary source or, you know, the last one, complete a keyword search. But indexes can be wonderful finding tools. And then the last strategy, as I mentioned before, is to complete a keyword search. You're going to do your research plan, you find those keywords, you use connectors and expanders to create a search string, and then you drill down into, your jurisdiction and by statutory code, and then you conduct a keyword search. Before I jump into Westlaw and Lexis, the first thing I think about is a research plan. Today, I'm going to talk about the TAP method. It's just a way of generating keywords. So think about the things, the acts, the persons, and the places that are in your research problem. And that'll help you generate some keywords. Don't forget to think about synonyms as well. The example I always use is the word child. You need to think about synonyms like minor or infant or juvenile. Other considerations, think about jurisdiction and subject area. That can help you to narrow down or drill down into the databases so you're not searching the entire database. Okay. Here's the research problem that I'm going to model today in Westlaw and Lexis. While I'm reading it, why don't you take a few minutes to jot down what you think are some good keywords and synonyms that you would use, and what connectors and expanders you would use to create your search string. So the research problem is your client was denied workers' compensation benefits when he got hurt on a roofing job. When he was taken to the hospital, test results showed your client had a blood alcohol level of 0.160. According to Louisiana law, what is the definition of intoxication as it applies to workers' compensation? So let's first, before we jump into the databases, let's put together a research plan. So you're thinking about the things, the acts, the peoples, the places, right? So these are just a few keywords that I came up with. This is not an exhaustive list. So I thought of workers' compensation benefits, intoxication, and blood alcohol level. Other considerations are our jurisdiction is Louisiana, and our subject area is employment law. We are going to start in Westlaw and we're going to look for a secondary source. Remember, we go to our strategy first. So we're going to use some of these keywords and try to find a secondary source on this issue. Here we are in Westlaw. We are going to be looking for a secondary source on our issue. So the first thing we are going to do is go to Content Types tab. We're going to click on Secondary Sources, and then we're going to look for our jurisdiction. In this instance, it is Louisiana. So now this limits the secondary sources that I'm going to search in. So there's 64 secondary sources that are specific to Louisiana. So let's put in some of our keywords, and I'm going to use connectors to connect them together. This is a great way of making your research a little bit more efficient because you're telling the algorithm where you would like to see your keywords in relation to each other in the document. So I'm going to use intoxication in the same sentence as worker within 10 of compensation. And let's see what our results look like. So that brings back 10 secondary sources. That seems like a great search. Not too many results, not too little. So here we have Louisiana Civil Law Treatise, accident caused by workers' intoxication. This is workers' compensation in practice. This sounds great. There's also Louisiana Practice Series, specific to employment law. So, once again, we're getting some great results. And this section talks about the Louisiana Workers' Compensation Act. So that is the statute that we are probably looking for. Of course, we would go ahead and we would read this, this section of the practice manual. On the left-hand side, you can see that the table of contents. That way you can see what the section is before and what the section is afterwards. You could read the entire chapter just to kind of immerse yourself in this issue, especially if you don't know a lot about Louisiana workers' compensation law. So here you can see it talks about this is an act provides injured employees not entitled to work and compensation benefits when the employee is injured as a result of his own intoxication. So if we click on the footnote, it will take us right to the statute. There's also a section specifically on alcohol intoxication. So we could go and look at that specific statute as well. When we get here to the statute, there's a few things we're going to do. Not only are we going to read the statute, but we're going to validate it. And then we are going to look for currentness, effectiveness, and then the notes of decision. Notes of decision is case law that cites or discusses, analyzes the statute. So first, obviously we would read it, but then after that, we're going to validate it. So we look up here to the left-hand side. Notice there is nothing. What does that mean? Well, in Westlaw, they have the flag system. So if it was red, if you saw a red flag next to it, that means that it was repealed. If you see a yellow flag next to it, that means that there's pending legislation. So caution, right? But because there's nothing, that means that this is still good law. Okay. We can go down to currentness. If we click on this, this is just telling us when the last time Westlaw updated the statutes. And it's current through the 2025 regular sessions of the Louisiana legislature. I'm going to scroll up a bit because I want to look at this credit section. This is going to tell me when the last amendment was. So here you can see in 2001 was the last time it was amended. Then we're going to look at notes of decision. Once again, these are cases that analyze or discuss the statute. You can access the notes of decision in two different spots, either here or this tab up top. Either way, it's going to bring you to the same place. Notes of decision are grouped by Westlaw reference attorneys by subject. So for instance, you will see validity, construction application, and then the cases that they have put in that subject. You can sort by procedural order or by alphabetical order. It's also on the left-hand side, and we're going to just scooch down and we're going to find the section on intoxication. So here's the section of intoxication. So here we have intoxication in general, and then we have the cases that have been picked by the Westlaw reference attorneys. There is a blurb about the case and then a link to the case itself. So you can click, it'll take you directly to the case. And that is how you would find a statute using a secondary source in Westlaw. It works the same way in Lexis. So I'm not going to show you that strategy in Lexis. Instead, we'll do the keyword searching. I do want to show our second strategy, which is using the table of contents or an index, because it's different depending upon which one you're in, where you can find it. So we're going to go to State Materials. We'll click on Louisiana. Now I'm going to go down to Louisiana Statutes and Court Rules. And then on the right, you will see the index. This is also where you can browse the different sections of the Louisiana Code. If I click on index, you will find it's alphabetical, of course, but you can also search in the index as well. Now that I've showed you how to browse the table of contents and where the index is, we'll jump into Lexis and we'll look at where we can find the index in Lexis, as well as using keyword searching. So here we are in Lexis. The first thing I want to show you is how to get to the statutory code in Louisiana so that you can browse. And then, of course, we'll look at the index as well. So under our state tab, we're going to go ahead and go into Louisiana. From here, we're going to scroll down to statutes and legislation. Here you can see we have the annotated statutes. And this is where you can do your just browsing, or you can enter your search terms to find a statute on your issue. From here, you can go into the index, and using your keywords, you can take a look for a statute on your specific issue. Okay, so now let's go back and we are going to do a keyword search in our statutes and try to find the statute that we need, the controlling statute that we need. And then we'll once again, once we find that statute, we'll validate it. We'll look for currentness, effectiveness, and of course, we'll check out the notes of decision. So once again, I'm on the Lexis homepage. Under the state tab, here we go to Louisiana. Statutes and legislation, it's that first one, the annotated. So from here, we're going to go ahead and put in our search terms. I'm going to use the same search that I used in Westlaw. So it was intoxication in the same sentence as worker with intent of compensation. And then we'll go ahead and click the search button. So that gives us 16 results, which is a great search. And then it pops us right down. If we look, we have officers and agents, purposes, and you can see like the trail. So this is in Title 23, Labor and Worker Compensation. This is about Chapter 11A, Worker Opportunity Program, and it looks like it was repealed, so let's keep going. But here we come across this defenses, which is what we found in Westlaw. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Here on the left-hand side, you can see where our keywords and terms are. You can also browse the table of contents as well. So the first thing after I read my statute is I'm going to validate it. So we look for the shepherd signal in Lexis on your left-hand side. Green means good law, or positive treatment is indicated. And then we can go down and look at currentness. So this document is current through the 2026 regular session. That means that's the last time that Lexis has updated the Louisiana statutes. We can go to history. History will tell us when it was last amended and when the effectiveness date of the last amendment is. So here is an amendment from 2001, and it's effective on June 27th, 2001. So there haven't been any recent amendments. There's also some amendment notes. So this tells you, what was amended and possibly even why, depending. And then that brings us to our notes of decision. Just like in Westlaw, Lexis reference attorneys take cases that have cited our statute and they put them in categories. And those categories we can take a look at and just read the cases that are specific to our legal research issue. So we're going to keep going down a little bit and we're looking for intoxication. So, oh, and here's where our keywords are highlighted. And here it is, workers' compensation, injuries, intoxication. You click this little blue button, it brings you down to the notes of decision. And then just like in Westlaw, you have a blurb about the case. And then you have a link to the case. And so that is how you would find a statute using a keyword search. And then, of course, validating it, looking at effectiveness and currentness, and looking at the notes of decision so that you can find case law that interprets or analyzes your statute. And that's how we do statutory research in Westlaw and Lexis. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly. My email address is on the screen, or reach out to any of the law librarians at lawlib@umassd.edu. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video to learn about statutory research, and I hope you have a wonderful day.